Don't give Tim Hudak the boot just yet. That is the topic of tonight's Byline. I'm Anthony Fury. Thanks for joining me tonight. The knives are out. Ooh, that was the cover of Monday's Toronto Sun. Christina Blizzard's column revealed that some members of the Ontario PC party want to give Tim Hudak the boot. On August 1st, there were 5 by-elections to replace Liberals. The PCs only took 1 seat. The NDP the other 2, and Kathleen Wynne's Liberals performed okay, all things considered, and retained 2 of them. Now, PC insiders from the London West riding, which the NDP won, said one of the biggest liabilities to gaining the PC vote was Tim Hudak himself. Now, the party rules state a leadership review is mandatory if a leader loses a general election. This was just a series of by-elections, so it didn't apply. Personally, I think Andrea Horwath should have sent Ontarians to the polls to have a general election all along, instead of what we saw happen. But, well, that didn't happen. After Hudak lost the 2011 general election, there was a review, and he got a 79% approval rating. Not too shabby, so he stayed on as leader. Right now, Hudak stands at 2 strikes, 2011 and the recent by-elections. I think he's got 1 strike left, then he's out. The Liberals, they were in a sorry state in 2011, and I argued even back then, it should have been a home run for the PCs and Hudak. Look, a Mike Harris-style leader would have proven how we're down the path to fiscal ruin and won the election easily. Since then, Hudak, though, he's done a lot of work, primarily through a series of white papers. I know, it's boring at first, to articulate a small government philosophy in terms of education, healthcare, pension issues, liquor stores, and more. In other words, he's restocked his arsenal, and he's ready for a fight. Let's see how he does in the next general election, which won't be that far around the corner. Okay, 3 main reasons I argue this. 1, the Liberal big red machine was well-oiled last time. They managed to distract from the fact our finances are falling apart and government, look, it's just too big. But with increased debt loads and scandals like the gas plants building, more and more momentum, it's going to be really harder to lull voters into a false sense of security next time around. In 2011, enough voters, look, they just weren't open to small government arguments. They didn't understand the need. More do now. And Hudak's job is going to be to convince even more people of that fact. That is his test, and you boot him if he fails that. 2, who are you going to replace him with right now at this point? Personally, I've always thought Frank Cleese would make a great leader. He ran in 2004 and in 2009. They were nuts to pick John Tory and then Hudak over Cleese. He's smart, respectable, makes a good impression on the public, and has a solid small government philosophy, but it's not out there like a couple of the people on the fringe. But other than him, no one else in the PC caucus is really known to the public. None are ready for a prime time. 3, many politicians, folks, many, I can go back as far as I want, I can look at any province, have lost general elections and they go on to win another. Let's look at Stephen Harper and Dalton McGuinty. Well, they lost their first elections. They're just 2 examples. Jack Layton, he lost in 2004, 2006, 2008, and 2011. They kept him as leader. Every time, he increased the vote count. He got better with age. And personally, I think if he was still around, he would have done even better in 2015. So while Hudak seems like a long shot right now, you never know. Hudak has fared poorly, but he knows that, acknowledges it publicly, and has tried to put his ducks in the row for the next shot at a general election. Policy-wise, he's stronger than he was the last time. Give him that shot. Maybe he'll lose. After all, if he wins, he can't be worse than Kathleen Wynne and Andrea Horwath, and there's no one right now who can viably take his place. And that's the Byline.
You know, for the first time since 1999, we won a seat in the Liberal stronghold of Toronto. We broke through. We won an urban riding that was held by a high-profile cabinet minister. You know what that tells me? The PC party is moving forward, and we're going to take more Toronto and GTA seats. And I'm proud that our party received more votes across Ontario than any other party. It's a major step forward.
Joining me for more with this reaction on this story, Adam Gimbron, Sun News contributor, and someone who has a pretty unique window into this, because, Adam, you were the NDP candidate in Scarborough-Guildwood in the October 1st elections. I know you were primarily looking at your own poll data, looking at the NDP platform, but what do you think about my comments on Tim Hudak, and you're looking at how he's standing after this slate?
Well, look, I mean, he's right. I mean, they did win a seat in urban Toronto, but, you know, they were apparently in London. Tim Hudak was actually in London, Ontario, expecting a win there, and they had to rush him back to Toronto to do that news conference. They were apparently 10 or 12 points ahead in Ottawa, and of course, the Liberals pulled through. I mean, you know, in this case, people aren't warmed up to Tim. I mean, that's his problem. And these elections, I think the win in Etobicoke was more about Doug Holliday than it was about Tim Hudak, frankly.
Now, I always say you never underestimate the big red machine, just because it's well financed. It's got the lawyers, the backroom boys. So regardless if times aren't doing well for the Liberals, there's still a lot of people who have a stake in it. So are these Tim's losses? I mean, the NDP wins. We'll chalk that up to whoever, Andrea, whatever. But is that PC party losses the Liberal holds, or are those just the strength of the red machine?
Well, look, I mean, to take nothing away from the Liberal victory in the riding I ran, in which is Scarborough-Guildwood, but they received less than I mean, basically 63% of the population voted against them. I mean, the biggest thing at the door was we don't want to vote Liberal. And then people had to decide, and basically, in that case, the Tories and Tory and New Democrats split that vote. I mean,
there's a far margin in 2011 in your riding, and you guys really shrunk the margin. I mean, you were all pretty tight there.
The Liberals, I mean, basically, the Liberals won by 15%, thousands and thousands of votes, and that was shrunk down to less than 1,800. I mean, That's pretty short. I mean, I think the Liberals are in trouble here. I mean, they're losing in small urban centers across the province, whether it's to New Democrats or Conservatives. Really, Toronto even, they lost to the Conservatives. Their vote went down in the two ridings where they did held. They kind of just squeaked by. So if I'm the Liberals, I'm sitting here going, where's my next growth? I mean, they're looking, they can't afford to lose any ground here, or not much, to maintain government. And I think it's bad news. If the New Democrats and Conservatives are doing well in non-downtown Toronto ridings, like Scarborough, Etobicoke, sort of the ring just outside the downtown, I don't know where the Liberals think they're going to pick up more seats.
I want to go to the last poll data that I have, July 22nd. It shows that the PC party actually at top with, I believe it's 36% of the vote. We're going to put that up on screen, 36%, 31% Liberals, 27% NDP. That's from Forum Research. So it suggests that, okay, fine, these by-elections didn't go so hot for Hudak, but still, there's something to be said. General election coming up. Maybe it's going to be doing pretty good for Hudak.
Well, I think the Conservatives, what you see in that poll, though, is that basically if either party moves 3 or 4 percentage points, they're all about tied, right? I mean, the New Democrats are slightly further behind, but 8 points.
So margin of error, and then what's at play?
And then the whole thing's in play here. So then it really becomes down to a lot more calculated analysis of what's going to end up happening. But the reality is the Liberals are going to have a really difficult time across the province. And these by-elections, I mean, there was comments in the media, if they lost more than 2, the Premier would be in trouble. Well, the fact of the matter is they lost 3 of them.
Right.
And they only squeaked by in one of them by a little bit. So they've got some challenges here. Clearly, the Premier's honeymoon is over. And come the fall, when the legislature comes back, I think the hammering is going to continue. And I think the Liberals are going to find it tough to postpone an election that much longer.
Okay, let's go back to the leadership issue here. So some of these, this cabal of PCers who want Hudak out, they want the rule changed so that now we have a leadership review right now. I know you were NDP federal president at one point, so this is the thing that the PC party president and the executive are thinking about right now. I mean, would one change the rules at a time like this just because there's winds of change going on, or do you say, sorry, he's here, there's no opportunity?
I don't know the PC party. If this were in the New Democrats, they'd have to go to the next convention. They'd vote that rule change, and then it would come into effect after. So there'd be no mechanism. I assume
there's no mechanism here.
I assume there's no even mechanism to just change the rules and then go on to a vote right away. Although I suppose there's some, if everybody agrees, then they would. My guess is that there's going to be more rumbling. It's going to continue to undermine Tim's ability to actually. He already has a spending cap for the next election, which is going to hamper his ability to run an effective campaign. But at the end of the day, if you'd ask me to predict, Tim Hudak will be the leader going into the next election. And if I were wrong about that, I think they'd be crazy. By the time they ran a leadership convention, this new leader, none of them have a great high profile. There are other capable members of the Tory caucus. I think they'd struggle, as any new leader does, coming up with an election, which we think will probably be next spring.
Adam, thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure.
Folks, that was Adam Jim Brown giving us his reaction on Hudak's leadership. Send me your thoughts. This is something that I find center-right people, PC supporters, themselves are very divided on. Forget people on the left or the Liberal Party. So what do you think if you're in Ontario or anywhere in Canada? Should he stay? Should he go? Who would you put in his place? I'm saying there's no one else there to put in his place. Anthony.Fury, sunmedia.ca, and tweet @AnthonyFury. Stick around. Great show coming up.